Chapter 91, Appearing in Time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next second, surging spiritual energy surged out of his sleeves and robes, hitting Bai Fei like a tornado. When Bai Fei saw this, his expression suddenly changed. He really didn't expect that Sima Tianyan would be so decisive and take action directly. What Bai Fei didn't expect even more was that this guy's cultivation had actually reached the 8th level of the Danyuan realm. The violent spiritual energy blasted towards Bai Fei. Bai Fei quickly raised his arms, circulated the spiritual energy, and covered his arms. Bang! A thunderous crash resounded in the void. Bai Fei's body was hit by this spiritual energy and flew backwards, but because Bai Fei's body was strong enough and protected by spiritual energy, he only suffered some flesh injuries. Kindness, seeing Bai Fei actually resist his attack, a look of surprise appeared on Sima Tianyan's face. Sima Tianyan was naturally able to sense that Bai Fei's cultivation level was only the perfect body refining realm. Therefore, if Sima Tianyan's attack was carried out, he felt that it would definitely kill Bai Fei, or at the worst, he would be seriously injured and fall to the ground. After all, how could a small ant in the body refining realm have the right to scream in front of him? Not to mention, he came out of Wen Shuer's carriage. Wen Shuer has always been regarded as a forbidden concubine by Sima Tianyan. When Bai Fei came out, Sima Tianyan felt as if his precious things had been tainted, which made him feel extremely unhappy. It was precisely because of this appearance that Sima Tianyan took action immediately to kill him, but Bai Fei was stronger than Sima Tianyan imagined, so he resisted his attack. After a while, "No wonder you dare to be so arrogant." Sima Tianyan immediately sneered and said in a cold voice, "It's just that ants are still ants after all." As soon as he finished speaking, Sima Tianyan stepped on his foot, his body shot out again, and he suddenly struck down with a palm. Boom! At that moment, billowing red spiritual energy surged out of Sima Tianyan's body, quickly condensing into a big flaming hand and slapping Bai Fei. Bai Fei's expression changed, and he felt a strong dangerous aura from this big flaming hand. This is the secret skill of the Shen sect, the divine fire soul extinguisher. Without any hesitation, Bai Fei roared angrily, showing the bloodline of the giant elephant climbing the mountain. Roar! An elephant roar emanated from Bai Fei's body, and the shadow of the giant elephant appeared behind him. Then Bai Fei clenched his fist and fiercely attacked the big flaming hand. Boom! The big flaming hand collided with his fist, and a shocking sound erupted. The next second, Bai Fei's body was blasted out and hit the ground hard. At that moment, Bai Fei felt that every part of his body was burned by fire. It was so painful that he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Bai Fei, when Wen Shuer saw this, a look of horror appeared on her pretty face, and she shouted loudly. Seeing that Wen Shuer actually cared so much for Bai Fei, Sima Tianyan's eyes became even colder, so he flashed his body and appeared in front of Bai Fei again, stepping out suddenly with his foot, trying to hit Bai Fei directly. Trampled to death, this made Bai Fei's expression suddenly change. Just when Bai Fei was about to die under the soles of Sima Tianyan's feet, a faint voice sounded in the void. "Sima Xiaozong, you have gone too far." As these words fell, in the void, a shocking sword light flashed with golden luster, filled with a domineering aura, and slashed at Sima Tianyan out of thin air. When Sima Tianyan saw this, his pupils suddenly shrank, he retracted his paws, and at the same time raised his palms and shot them forward suddenly. At that moment, billowing crimson spiritual energy swept out and collided with the golden sword light. Bang! The strong wind exploded in mid-air and spread in all directions. Sima Tianyan's body was also shaken back. The next second, a figure appeared in front of Bai Fei, that is Mo Guanshan. When Shuer came to Bai Fei, helped him up, and asked in a low voice, "How are you? Are you okay?" Seeing Wen Shuer caring so much for Bai Fei, Sima Tianyan's eyes became even more gloomy, and he almost wanted to tear Bai Fei into pieces. He withdrew his eyes, looked at Mo Guanshan, and said calmly, "Master Mo." Mo Guanshan put his hands behind his back, looked at Sima Tianyan expressionlessly, and said calmly, "Sima Xiaozong, do you think too little of our city lord's mansion?" "How could be?" Hearing Mo Guanshan's words, Sima Tianyan smiled and said, "I have always respected the city lord's mansion very much. Since you respect our city lord's mansion, why do you take action against the guests of our city lord's mansion? You don't look like you respect us. Mo Guanshan said with cold eyes. When Sima Tianyan heard this, a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes, and he said calmly, it turns out that he is a guest of the city lord's mansion. I think a mere ant dares to contradict this young sect like this. This young sect Zong Xiren cannot forgive him. It's just that I didn't expect that the city lord's mansion would treat such cats and dogs as guests. This is indeed something that I didn't expect. It must be said that Sima Tianyan's words were full of sarcasm. Mo Guanshan's eyes suddenly turned cold when he heard this. Since he is a guest of your city lord's mansion, this young master will forgive his offense. After Sima Tianyan finished speaking, he fell on Wen Shuer's pretty face and said lightly, Shuer, I think we are really suitable to be together. Ants like this are not worthy of standing by your side. I also hope you can think about it carefully. After saying this, Sima Tianyan took his people away from here, when Shuer ignored Sima Tianyan's words. She looked at Mo Guanshan and hurriedly shouted, Uncle Mo. Save Bai Fei quickly. Mo Guanshan heard the words and immediately came to Bai Fei and picked him up. At this time, Bai Fei was out of danger and fainted. Mo Guanshan hugged Bai Fei and took Wen Shuer back to the city lord's mansion quickly. Wen Shuer immediately shouted to her maid, go to my room and get my Ning Yuan pill. Yes, Mississippi. Soon, Wen Shuer gave the Ning Yuan pill to Bai Fei to take, so, Bai Fei, who was still emitting a high temperature, finally cooled down at this moment. Chapter 93, Murder Mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. System, I want to do the task, ding. Please select the task. Bai Fei chose the dual task. After receiving the task, his body turned into a stream of light and disappeared. When Bai Fei appeared again, he was already in Xiantian Cemetery. Bai Fei opened the task bar and checked the task. The first task, kill Zhou Xiren, the elder of the Zhou family in Muyan City, and reward 5,000 points. The second task, kill Yang Sini, the eldest young master of the Yang family in Muyan City, and reward 4,000 points. But when seeing the details of the two tasks, Bai Fei's face was surprised. This made Bai Fei doubt his eyes a little, and he couldn't help but blink his eyes, and then he looked again carefully and found that the task content he saw was indeed correct. The elder of the Zhou family, the eldest young master of the Yang family. A strange look appeared on Bai Fei's face. He really didn't expect that the task given by the system this time was actually two murder tasks. What surprised Bai Fei even more was that the murder tasks killed people from the Zhou family and the Yang family. These two families happened to have grievances with Bai Fei. More importantly, the current embarrassing situation of the Xiao family was also caused by the joint suppression of the Zhou family and the Yang family. Now that the system has given these two murder tasks, does it mean that if these two guys are solved, can the current situation of the Xiao family be alleviated? After thinking about this, Bai Fei already had an idea in his mind. At that moment, Bai Fei opened the map and found that red dots appeared on the map. Obviously, that was the location of Zhou Xiren and Yang Sini. Bai Fei didn't know who was Zhou Xiren and who was Yang Sini on the two red dots, so he could only go according to the nearest distance. When Bai Fei gradually approached the red dot closest to him, he found a noisy sound in front of him. This made Bai Fei pause after hearing it. Then, Bai Fei shouted to the system, System, can you change my image? Bai Fei is now the young king, and it has spread throughout the Xiantian cemetery. Even in Muyan City, there may be rumors, although not many people know that he is a disciple of the Blood Sword sect. This is under the protection of the system, so no one knows it for the time being, but with the passage of time, and under the investigation of those who are interested, his identity will be exposed sooner or later. Therefore, Bai Fei must hide his identity now, so as not to be targeted by more people. Ding! It costs 100 points to change the image. The voice of the system sounded in Bai Fei's mind. When Bai Fei heard this, he rolled his eyes. This system is really stingy. But although he complained in his heart, he still chose to use it. Ding! Deduct 100 points, the current remaining points, 3,260. Host, please choose an image template. In Bai Fei's perspective, various images appeared: rugged man, pale-faced scholar, weak young man, after a moment of hesitation, Bai Fei chose the rugged man. At that moment, Bai Fei's body began to change, his face was rough and he had a beard, his muscles expanded, as explosive as a dragon, his skin also changed from fair to dark. It has changed so thoroughly, that Bai Fei said to himself. When he said this, he also found that his voice had become hoarse. Hearing that his voice had changed, Bai Fei was very surprised. He really didn't expect that the image change given by the system would be so thorough. It must be said that such an image change is good news for Bai Fei. Of course, although the image has changed, his own strength has not changed much. Bai Fei twisted his neck, loosened his wrist, and after adapting to his physical condition, he walked towards the crowd. Immediately afterwards, Bai Fei heard the group of warriors whispering and talking. "Hey, aren't you going to join? I'm afraid this isn't that easy, is it?" Of course, if it were easy, the Zhou family wouldn't need to find someone to join. It's called a hunting mission, but I think they're just using us as cannon fodder. The problem is that you have to be qualified to be cannon fodder. Hearing the discussion of these warriors, Bai Fei also had doubts in his heart. At that moment, he asked, "Everyone, what are you discussing?" Hearing Bai Fei's words, these warriors looked over, and when they found that it was a big guy, their eyes changed a little. Then, a warrior explained to him. After their explanation, Bai Fei finally understood. It turned out that the Zhou family was going to carry out a hunting mission. But because of a shortage of manpower, they needed to hire some outside warriors to help. Now Zhou Shiren, the elder of the Zhou family, is interviewing some warriors who want to participate in this hunting mission. After hearing their explanation, Bai Fei couldn't help but narrow his eyes, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. He thought secretly, thinking, if this is the case, then maybe I have a chance. There are detailed information about the targets that he wants to hunt for in the two tasks. Bai Fei's heart moved, and he opened Zhou Shiren's information. Name, Zhou Shiren, gender, male, attribute, water, realm, great perfection of gathering spirit realm, great perfection of gathering spirit realm. With Bai Fei's current strength, it is naturally easy to deal with it. With the system's combat power blessing function, he can now directly burst out the strength of great perfection of Danyuan realm. When he is in the great perfection of body refining realm, he is one realm higher than Zhou Shiren, so he is not afraid. At that moment, Bai Fei walked forward, then he saw an old man in a blue robe standing on a huge rock with his hands behind his back and a proud look on his face, looking down from a high place, like a king. Bai Fei knew that the old man in front of him was Zhou Shiren, so, Bai Fei shouted to the old man, "Are you Zhou Shiren?" Hearing this, the old man glanced at Bai Fei and found that he was just a small martial artist in the great perfection of the body refining realm. He couldn't help but frown and said with a tone full of sarcasm, "We don't accept ants in the body refining realm." Hearing Zhou Shiren's words, Bai Fei couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 94, One Hit Kill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although my cultivation is only the great perfection of the body refining realm, my strength is more than that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to recommend myself. Bai Fei's words surprised Zhou Shiren, and a look of curiosity appeared on his old face, and he said lightly, "You are right, so tell me, what are your abilities? You give it a try, won't you know?" As these words fell, Bai Fei's pupils shrank suddenly, and then he stomped his feet heavily on the ground, and then a dull sound of bang resounded, and immediately Bai Fei's body shot out. Came out and appeared directly in front of Zhou Shiren. Without any hesitation, he directly mobilized his spiritual energy and gathered it on his fist, and a deep voice resounded in his throat. Wild Fist. At that moment, a vast, ancient aura filled the surface of Bai Fei's fist. At that moment, a look of horror appeared on Zhou Shiren's old face, and his mood exploded. Because he felt a strong dangerous aura from Bai Fei's fist, which made him feel fear in his heart. At that moment, Zhou Shiren didn't hesitate and shouted angrily. At the same time, the powerful spiritual energy in his body surged out and gathered in his hands, forming a water shield in order to resist Bai Fei's attack. However, Bai Fei went all out when he made a move, and even used the 4th level martial arts barbaric fist. The power it unleashed was extremely terrifying, and it was definitely not something he could compete with. It was also because of this that Bai Fei's fist landed behind the water shield, and the water shield shattered directly. At the same time, his fist also struck Zhou Shiren's body. Bang! At that moment, the terrifying power directly penetrated Zhou Xiren's body, causing Zhou Xiren's body to make a kakaka sound. How is this possible? Zhou Xiren's eyes widened with a look of horror on his face, and his eyes were filled with unbelievable emotions. Eventually, the aura on his body gradually disappeared, and then his body fell weakly to the ground. This scene happened under the gaze of everyone, which made them all stunned. No one expected that a man would suddenly come out and kill Zhou Xiren directly. You know, that's Zhou Xiren, the great elder of the Zhou family, a master of the great perfection of soul-gathering realm. As a result, he was killed instantly with one punch. Is this a dream? Great elder. Many warriors from the Zhou family saw this scene happening, especially when they saw Zhou Xiren's body helplessly falling from the boulder and hitting the ground. They finally reacted and screamed in grief and anger. They raised their heads and looked at the boulder, only to find that the culprit had disappeared. Ding! Congratulations on completing your first mission, you will be rewarded with 5,000 points. Current points remaining, 8,260. After getting rid of Zhou Xiren, Bai Fei quickly left the place. After all, there are many warriors there. If they all attack you, it will be difficult for you to survive. Hearing the system prompt, Bai Fei raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said calmly, "Not bad, I successfully completed a mission. Next, let's go find the eldest young master of the Yang family." Bai Fei opened the map and followed the directions above to find the eldest young master of the Yang family. Now that the eldest elder of the Zhou family has been eliminated by him, he must be able to relieve the pressure on the Xiao family. Now we just need to deal with the eldest young master of the Yang family. Thinking of this, Bai Fei clicked on Yang Sini's information, name, Yang Sini, sex, male, attribute, fire, realm, 7th level of spirit gathering realm, bloodline, red tiger bloodline. Oh, this kid actually still has red tiger blood. Bai Fei had some surprises. He didn't expect that Yang Sini had red tiger blood, but what about the red tiger bloodline? He still beat me violently. The second floor of Xiantian Cemetery is in a valley. A group of warriors were surrounding a few teenagers and attacking them non-stop, with faces full of jest. These young men were scarred, their breath was weak, and they no longer had much fighting power. However, these warriors were unwilling to kill them, just like a cat playing with a mouse. One of the teenagers in green stared at a handsome young man in green robes with cold eyes and shouted angrily, "Yang Sini, kill us if you can." Hearing this, Yang Sini had a sarcastic smile on his face and said contemptuously, "Kill? Are you kidding me? It took a lot of effort to catch you guys. If you don't have a good time, how can you deserve us these days? Where's the hard work? That's right. Boy, stop thinking about begging for death. Run quickly, maybe you can still escape." The other warriors of the Yang family also laughed, with sarcastic expressions on their faces. When the young man in green heard the words of these Yang family warriors, his mood sank to the bottom, and a look of despair appeared on his face. They really didn't expect to be in such a situation. They are the children of the Xiao family. They originally came to Xiantian Cemetery just to find some heavenly materials and earthly treasures to help the Xiao family solve some difficulties. Unexpectedly, they would be so unlucky that they actually met Yang Sini, the eldest son of the Yang family. As a result, they have been hunted by Yang Sini and his men these days. Until now, they are surrounded, like a mouse being played by a cat, unable to die or escape. "Brother Xiao, what should we do now?" a young man from the Xiao family asked. The green-clothed boy called Brother Xiao had cold eyes and said in a cold voice, "Just fight with them directly. Even if we die, we must let these guys know that none of us in the Xiao family are cowards. Want to fight to the death?" Hearing the words of the green-clothed boy, Yang Sini smiled contemptuously and said sarcastically, "With you bunch of trash, it will be useless even if you fight to the death. Anyway, I'm tired of playing, just do it, kill them all." Yang Sini waved his hand and gave an order. Hearing Yang Sini's words, many Yang family warriors approached the children of the Xiao family, ready to kill them in one fell swoop. However, at this moment, a sudden change occurred. A figure fell from the sky, like a meteor, and hit the ground heavily, raising a cloud of dust. Everyone was shaken back 2 steps by the strong wind. when the strong wind subsided and the dust dissipated, a figure appeared in their sight. Chapter 95 Witch Onion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Both sides looked over at the same time, and then they saw a man with a strong body and a rough face standing there, like a hill, full of oppression, that was none other than Bai Fei. Bai Fei looked around and couldn't help but frowned, because he didn't know who Yang Sini was. After all, the task only gave personal information, but no facial picture, so he could only shout, "Who is Yang Sini?" Hearing Bai Fei's words, Yang Sini frowned slightly, looked at him, and asked coldly, "Who are you? What do you want to see me?" Hearing this, Bai Fei's eyes fell on him and asked again, "Are you Yang Sini?" Hearing this, Yang Sini snorted coldly and said coldly, "Nonsense. I am Yang Sini. Who are you? What do you want to do?" After confirming that the other party was Yang Sini, Bai Fei's face showed a faint smile, and then his eyes became cold, and he said slowly, "Who I am is not important, what is important is. I will send you to the underworld to report to King Yama." As the voice fell, Bai Fei's foot suddenly stepped on the ground, and then there was a bang, and a muffled sound resounded in the void. The next second, Bai Fei appeared in front of Yang Sini, without any hesitation, and directly used his martial arts. Wild Fist. At that moment, the ancient, desolate, and savage aura permeated Bai Fei's body, and his fist contained an extremely terrifying force and slammed into Yang Sini. Yang Sini's face changed drastically. He had never expected that the other party was here to kill him. He had never expected that the other party's strength was so terrible. At that moment, Yang Sini roared angrily. Red Tiger Blood Transformation. Boom! Yang Sini's body changed at that moment, turning into a red tiger, and then he slapped his hands forward. At that moment, rolling flames swept out, like a flood, rushing towards Bai Fei. Once the flames surged out, the temperature around them rose in vain, so that the weeds on the ground were burned. Bai Fei saw this scene, his face did not show any expression, he remained calm, raised his fist and continued to move forward. Bang! Bai Fei's fist collided fiercely with the raging tide of flames, making a loud sound. The next second, the raging tide of flames was torn into pieces in an instant, and Bai Fei also rushed forward with a devastating attitude, bombarding Yang Sini. What? This is impossible. Seeing that his offensive was actually disintegrated by the opponent in an instant, Yang Sini's eyes widened, his face was full of horror, and his inner emotions exploded directly. No. At that moment, Yang Sini was extremely desperate, he felt the breath of death enveloping him. At this moment, the jade necklace on Yang Sini's neck burst into a dazzling light. The next second, a figure appeared. It was an old man, exuding a powerful and unparalleled aura. "Grandpa!" When Yang Sini saw the old man appear, his eyes widened and he called out his name in surprise. It turned out that the old man was Yang Sini's grandfather, Yang Xiang. Yang Xiang waved his sleeves and blocked Bai Fei's wild punch, but at the same time, his body also shook slightly, and it became a lot more illusory. Of course, Bai Fei was also shocked and retreated, but when Bai Fei saw this situation, he already understood. The Yang Xiang in front of him was an incarnation. Incarnation, a magical power that only the incarnation realm can possess. This Yang Xiang is a master of the incarnation realm. Bai Fei's guess was correct. Yang Xiang was the Dinghe Shenzhen of the Yang family. His own cultivation had already reached the incarnation realm, so he could condense an incarnation. Yang Sini is Yang Xiang's grandson, and he values his grandson very much, so he condensed an incarnation and put it into the jade on his neck. Once Yang Sini encounters a crisis that threatens his life, this incarnation will be able to jump out at the first time to help resist. However, when Yang Xiang's incarnation appeared, he was a little surprised when he found that the one who threatened Yang Sini's life was just an ant in the great perfection of the body refining realm. Of course, what surprised him even more was that he resisted his attack and even launched an attack in the backhand, but the other person was not hurt. This is really incredible. Yang Xiang's incarnation has the cultivation of the first level of the spirit transformation realm. No matter how you look at it, it can easily crush the opponent, right? It is conceivable that the opponent's strength is indeed not to be underestimated. When the idea in his mind came to this point, Yang Xiang had already made a decision in his heart. At that moment, Yang Xiang looked at Bai Fei, who was floating in the air with his hands behind his back, and said calmly, "My friend, I wonder how my grandson offended you that you would kill him like this. Here, I apologize to you on his behalf. For my sake, please spare him this time." What do you think? Bai Fei had calmed down at this time. He sensed that this was just an incarnation, and his cultivation was only at the first level of the spiritual transformation realm. This was not a problem for Bai Fei at all. Therefore, after hearing what Yang Xiang said, Bai Fei's mouth twitched slightly, outlining a sarcastic smile, and said in a cold tone, "Who do you think you are? Why should I give you face? You." Bai Fei's words made Yang Xiang's face change, and he was furious, and he wanted to say something. But Bai Fei was in a hurry, so how could he say any more nonsense to Yang Xiang here? So when he saw that Yang Xiang still wanted to talk, Bai Fei did not hesitate at all, stepped hard on the ground with his feet, and his body shot out again, and then urged his spiritual energy, performed the savage fist, and bombarded Yang Xiang. Yang Xiang's face changed again, and he did not expect Bai Fei to attack him directly without saying a word of nonsense. This forced Yang Xiang to raise his hand to deal with it. However, Bai Fei's strength was too strong. Although Yang Xiang tried hard to resist, he couldn't resist the frequent punches. So in the end, Yang Xiang was beaten to pieces. Chapter 96, Breakthrough in the Soul Gathering Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Damn it, I won't let you go. Accompanied by a roar full of anger echoing in the void, Yang Xiang's body dissipated into the void. As for Yang Sini, his face was full of dullness, and his eyes were full of disbelief. Originally, Yang Sini thought that with the help of Yang Xiang's incarnation, he should be able to easily kill the muscular man in front of him. But he never thought that the strength of this muscular man was so terrifying that he directly blew up his grandfather's incarnation. This kind of power is too terrible, right? When Yang Sini came to his senses, he found that the other party was walking towards him with a gloomy face. This made Yang Sini's face change drastically, and he screamed in fear. "Wait, wait, wait. Don't kill me, I can give you whatever you want, please, don't kill me." Hearing Yang Sini's words, Bai Fei just said lightly, "I'm really sorry, I have to kill you, otherwise I can't complete the task." Bang! Bai Fei raised his fist, and the lightning blasted out, hitting Yang Sini's face directly. Shattering sound rang out crisply in the void. Immediately afterwards, Yang Sini's head exploded directly, and countless blood-white things splashed in all directions. After Bai Fei beat Yang Sini to death, he looked around at the young family warriors around him. When these young family warriors saw Bai Fei's eyes, their faces changed drastically, and they were terrified and fled in all directions. After all, even Yang Xiang's incarnation was solved, let alone these little warriors. Seeing these young family warriors running away, Bai Fei did not chase them. After all, he had completed the task. At that moment, the system prompt sounded in Bai Fei's mind: complete the second task and get 4,000 points. Current remaining points, 12,260. As the voice fell, Bai Fei's body was shrouded in a white light and disappeared. As for the children of the Xiao family, they were at a loss, and they had never expected such a situation to happen. They were all planning to die, but a muscular man fell from the sky and not only blew up Yang Xiang's incarnation, but also killed Yang Sini. This is too dreamy, right? But anyway, at least they survived. This is also a blessing. After returning to the system space, Bai Fei did not hesitate at all and directly bought 3 gathering spirit pills. Ding! Successfully exchanged 3 gathering spirit pills. Deducted 12,000 points. Current remaining points, 260. After Bai Fei heard the system prompt sound, his consciousness moved slightly, and he returned to his original body. He opened his eyes, without any hesitation, and took out 3 soul-gathering pills from the system space, and then threw them into his mouth. Boom! At that moment, the violent energy surged in Bai Fei's body. Bai Fei immediately operated the blood sword 10,000 techniques and began to digest the medicinal power of the soul-gathering pill. The energy of the first soul-gathering pill spread to his limbs and bones, repairing his injuries. Although when Shuer had given Bai Fei the Ningyuan pill before, it only stabilized Bai Fei's injuries and did not make them better. If he wanted to recover from his injuries, he had to rely on Bai Fei himself, after a period of time, Bai Fei's injuries were completely healed. After recovery, he threw the remaining 2 soul-gathering pills into his mouth, continued to operate the blood sword 10,000 techniques, refined the medicinal power of the soul-gathering pill, transformed it into his own spiritual energy, and began to impact the soul-gathering realm. Time passed bit by bit. Finally, a crisp crack sounded in Bai Fei's body. It was as if a wall was chiseled open. Then Bai Fei's aura suddenly increased. The first level of the dueling realm. The second level of the dueling realm. The third level of the dueling realm. In the blink of an eye, Bai Fei's aura had already climbed to the 8th level of the dueling realm. But soon, Bai Fei's aura dropped again in vain. The 7th level of the dueling realm. The 6th level of the dueling realm. It was not until the 3rd level of the dueling realm that the aura was completely stabilized, because Bai Fei had no way to suppress it anymore. The cultivation level just now broke through and climbed all the way, like a bamboo shoot, but such cultivation level is very superficial, it has no foundation. Bai Fei did not get carried away because of the rapid progress of his cultivation level. Instead, he adjusted his mentality and forcibly suppressed his cultivation level. He knew very well in his heart that only a solid foundation was everything that determined his strength. However, after suppressing it to the 3rd level of the dueling realm, he had no way to suppress it back. After all, this was indeed the end. Ha! Bai Fei exhaled lightly, opened his eyes slightly, and there was a blazing light blooming in his eyes. A faint smile appeared on his face, and he whispered to himself, finally broke through. Bai Fei felt that although he was only at the 3rd level of the dueling realm, he was absolutely sure to defeat the master in the early stage of the Danyuan realm. As for the opponent in the middle stage of the Danyuan realm, he might be evenly matched. Those in the late Danyuan realm need to work harder, but no matter what, he has achieved his goal this time. At that moment, Bai Fei's heart moved and he opened the system's information panel. Name, Bai Fei. Cultivation qualification, Young King. Birth bloodline, Giant Elephant Mountain bloodline, 3 particles. Spiritual cultivation realm, 3rd level of gathering spirit realm. Body refining realm, 12th level of blood tempering. Soul tempering realm, 11th level of perception. Current points, 260. It's just a little bit away, and my physical body can break through to the black iron body. At that time, I will be completely fearless of opponents in the Danyuan realm. Bai Fei's eyes were burning and his tone was serious. Then, Bai Fei closed his eyes again and continued to practice. The next morning, Wang Tianfang and Lu Dafu also returned to the city lord's mansion from their respective homes. When they heard from Huang Jie that Bai Fei was injured, they were all extremely surprised and went to Bai Fei's room. Junior brother Bai Fei, I heard that you had a fight with the young master of the Shenling sect for Miss Wan, and you were beaten half to death. Is that true? Before Wang Tianfang entered the room, his voice had already reached Bai Fei's ears. Just as words made Bai Fei's face turn black after hearing it. He rolled his eyes in anger and replied, "Can you stop talking nonsense? How could I have a fight with him?" Chapter 97, Recruitment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing Bai Fei's words, Wang Tianfang, who had already entered the room, took a closer look and found that Bai Fei's aura was very stable and did not look like he was injured at all. This caused a look of astonishment to appear on his face. You're not hurt? Lu Dafu and Huang Jie, who came in later, were also a little surprised, especially Huang Jie. She saw very clearly yesterday how serious Bai Fei's injuries were. If it weren't for Wen Shuer's Ning Yuan Dan, I might not have been able to save my life, but now Bai Fei is actually cured. Not only did he recover, but he seemed to have achieved a breakthrough. This made Huang Jie unable to help but ask, "Have you made a breakthrough?" Hearing Huang Jie's words, a faint smile appeared on Bai Fei's face, and he said, "It's a blessing in disguise." Hearing Bai Fei's admission, Huang Jie's eyes changed very obviously, and there was a surge of shock in his heart. Bai Fei had only reached the great perfection of the body refining realm before, but now he has actually broken through to the spirit gathering realm. And Huang Jie could feel that Bai Fei's aura was not weak. Obviously this is not an ordinary spirit gathering realm. What kind of terrifying qualifications do you need to be able to do this? As for Wang Tianfang and Lu Dafu, their faces showed shock. They really didn't expect that Bai Fei would break through because of this. They also felt a hint of danger from Bai Fei's body. Obviously, Bai Fei is stronger now than he was before. This made Wang Tianfang unable to help but curse. Damn! It's really annoying to compare people to each other. That when Lu Dafu heard this, he also glanced at him and said calmly, "Do you think everyone is as useless as you?" "Damn fat man, who is useless? You are useless, okay? You're useless. You're useless. You are useless. You. Okay." Hearing that Wang Tianfang and Lu Dafu were about to quarrel again, Huang Ye frowned slightly and said softly, "Let's talk about the business first." As soon as Huang Ye spoke, Wang Tianfang and Lu Dafu did not dare to continue to act recklessly and could only stare at each other. Senior brother Tianfang and senior brother Dafu are back, so there should be results, right? Looking at Wang Tianfang and Lu Dafu, Bai Fei, who was sitting on the bed, smiled lightly and asked. Hearing Bai Fei's words, Wang Tianfang and Lu Dafu looked at each other, and the latter said, "You go ahead and say it." When Wang Tianfang heard this, he didn't have any quarrel on this matter. He just said directly, "There is indeed a result." He said, "My family and I have tried our best, but they can only mobilize 3 spirit gathering realm and 10 chi refining realm warriors to help us. No more will be available." When Bai Fei heard this, a look of surprise appeared on his face. To be honest, Bai Fei didn't have high expectations from the beginning. After all, he knew very well that it was obviously unrealistic for the Wang family and the Lu family to send many people to support their assessment mission this time. Even Bai Fei was already prepared that no one might be sent out. But what Bai Fei didn't expect was that Wang Tianfang could summon so many people to help. It has to be said that Wang Tianfang's identity as the young family head still played a very key role. This made Bai Fei couldn't help but laugh, and said to Wang Tianfang, "Brother Tianfang, you are really a big help." Hearing Bai Fei's words, Wang Tianfang's face showed a proud smile, and he said, "Of course, after all, this is also my mission. I have to get some snacks no matter what." After saying this, Wang Tianfang's eyes fell on Lu Dafu and said provocatively, "Hey, fat man, what about you? How many people did you call from your family?" Wang Tianfang's tone when he said this clearly meant that he wanted to compare with Lu Dafu. Bai Fei and Huang Jie also set their sights on Lu Dafu, wanting to know how many people he could summon. "There is no manpower at home to provide for me." Seeing the looks of the 3 people, Lu Dafu spoke calmly. Lu Dafu's words made Bai Fei startled, and then he frowned and said, "Do you mean there is no one there?" Wang Tianfang immediately seized this opportunity and taunted, fat man, you can't do it. You can't even find one person. Are you too much of a failure?" Bai Fei was also surprised. Bai Fei didn't know how high Lu Dafu's identity and status was in the Lu family, but since he could dominate the Blood Sword sect's outer sect rankings for so many years, he must have the support of the family behind him. Therefore, his status should not be very low, so, how could he not be able to recruit even one warrior? "Are you kidding me?" Seeing Lu Dafu's calm expression, Bai Fei felt that he must have other plans. Therefore, he did not question it, but waited for Lu Dafu's next words. There was nothing wrong, just as Bai Fei thought. After hearing Wang Tianfang's mocking words, Lu Dafu just said very calmly, "Although my family really can't recruit warriors for me, we asked an elder in the family to assist us and help us complete this encirclement and suppression mission." "Elder?" Lu Dafu's answer made Wang Tianfang startled, and then he subconsciously asked, "What elder?" "An elder in Danyuan realm." Lu Dafu said indifferently. When Bai Fei and Huang Jie heard this, their eyes became bright. "An elder in Danyuan realm. This is much stronger than any warrior in Juling realm or Lianqi realm." Wang Tianfang was also shocked and exclaimed directly, "Damn it! Fatty, who are you trying to fool? An elder from Danyuan realm comes to help us? Do you think I will believe it?" "It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, what matters is this fact." Lu Dafu said lightly, "Although the number of elders from Danyuan realm is indeed not as many as Wang Tianfang, they can still be of some help." "Of course, that would be a great help." Bai Fei smiled and said, "You know, there are 2 fierce bandits from Danyuan realm. Senior sister Jie can deal with one, and now there is one left. It's just right to hand it over to the elder in senior brother Dafu's family. There should be no problem, right? Of course there is no problem. Lu Dafu smiled slightly, looking at Wang Tianfang with a look of pride, as if to say, you see, you still lost to me. Chapter 98 Xiao Zhan arrives. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Lu Dafu's proud eyes, Wang Tianfang's face became very ugly. He really didn't expect that in this aspect, he would lose to others again. It was really hateful. It's just that although the enemies in the Danyuan realm have been dealt with, the number of people in the spirit gathering realm is still not equal. Huang Jie spoke at this moment, junior brother Bai Fei, junior brother Dafu and junior brother Tianfang, plus the 3 soul gathering realms brought by junior brother Tianfang, there are only 6 soul gathering realms. Even if you can fight 1 against 2, or 1 against 3, then there are at most 12 of you. In this way, there are still 8 spirit gathering realm warriors to deal with, not to mention the chi refining realm warriors. Although their strength is not strong, if it's quite troublesome to interfere nearby. So, there is still a certain gap in strength between us and the fierce bandits. When Bai Fei heard this, he just smiled slightly and said, this is not a problem, we have a way to solve it. Any solution? After hearing Bai Fei's words, Huang Jie and the other 3 people all looked at him and asked. This method cannot be disclosed for the time being. I have to wait for the people I need to wait for to come. But don't worry, there must be a method. For this task, these people are actually enough. Hearing Bai Fei's confident words made them all confused, but since Bai Fei has already said so, they can only believe it now. A day passed quietly like this. The next afternoon soon came. At this time, Bai Fei was practicing swordsmanship with Huang Jie in the courtyard. The sword energy was flowing freely, causing strong winds to rise throughout the courtyard, which was so fierce. Wang Tianfang, who was sitting in the stone pavilion, sighed when he saw this scene and said, Bai Fei's strength has become stronger again. Lu Dafu next to him also nodded slightly and said in a low voice, I'm afraid he will be very outstanding in this 4-sect martial arts competition. Maybe. Hearing Lu Dafu's words, Wang Tianfang shook his head and said softly, there are many geniuses from the 4 sects this time. It is not easy for us to win. No matter what, we have to enter the inner gate first before we can qualify. Makes sense. Clang, a crisp sound of metal collision resounded in the void, dazzling light bloomed, and surging energy spread. Huang Jie's figure took more than 10 steps backward. Seeing this, Bai Fei withdrew his Qingling sword and bowed to Huang Jie. Senior sister Jie, I accept the offer. Huang Jie looked at Bai Fei with a hint of wonder in her eyes. She shook her head gently, your understanding of swordsmanship is really deeper than anyone I have ever seen. As time goes by, you can definitely become the same as the sword god of the past, standing at the top. Hearing Huang Jie's words, Bai Fei was a little surprised. He really didn't expect that the former would give him such a high evaluation, sword god. That's the god of swords. He is just a small spirit gathering realm warrior now, how can he compare to a great being like the sword god? However, Bai Fei also knows that if he continues to grow like this, there is indeed a possibility. Of course, humility is still necessary, therefore, Bai Fei just shook his head gently and said with a smile, Senior sister Jie, you are overly praised. Bai Fei, at this moment, a beautiful voice sounded outside the courtyard. Bai Fei turned around and looked over, and saw Wen Shuer appearing. Besides Wen Shuer, there was another person beside her, that was Xiao Zhan. At this moment, Xiao Zhan was smiling, and his energy seemed to be much better than the previous 2 days. Bai Fei, Xiao Zhan also shouted to Bai Fei. Brother Xiao. Bai Fei walked over, looked at Xiao Zhan, smiled and said, why are you here? Of course it's because of what you told me 2 days ago. Xiao Zhan looked at Bai Fei and spoke with a smile. Hearing Xiao Zhan's words, Bai Fei already understood in his heart that the death of the eldest elder of the Zhou family and the eldest young master of the Yang family had caused panic within both families, so much so that they didn't even have time to go there now. It's time to deal with the Xiao family. At that moment, Bai Fei smiled and said, "Brother Xiao, let's go into the house and talk." "Good." So, several people got together. After everyone introduced themselves, Bai Fei looked at Xiao Zhan and asked aloud, "Brother Xiao, how many people can you send over there?" But when Xiao Zhan heard this, he directly stated the number of people he could recruit without any hesitation. "Including me, there are a total of 6 spirit-gathering realm warriors and 15 body-refining realm warriors. How about it? Is it enough?" Xiao Zhan's words caused disbelief to appear on the faces of Bai Fei and others. To be honest, they really didn't expect that Xiao Zhan could send so many people. At that moment, Bai Fei looked at Xiao Zhan and said softly, "Brother Xiao, are you telling the truth? This is not a joke. I know the current situation of the Xiao family is not very good, but there is no need to mobilize so many effective forces to help me." Hearing Bai Fei's words, Xiao Zhan just smiled, waved his hands, and said, "Look at what you said, how could I be joking? And don't worry, this is indeed my best effort. The situation was indeed worse before, but now it's not our Xiao family that's worst, but the Yang family and the Zhou family." "Oh. Why?" Hearing Xiao Zhan's words, Wang Tianfang had a look of confusion on his face, and asked curiously, "What's wrong with these two families? Did something happen?" Just yesterday, the eldest young master of the Yang family and the eldest elder of the Zhou family were suddenly killed by a mysterious muscular man in Xiantian cemetery. Muscle man. Xiao Zhan's words made Bai Fei's mouth twitch uncontrollably. What? The elder of the Zhou family was killed? Is this the eldest young master of the Yang family? Wang Tianfang and Lu Dafu were both extremely surprised and found it incredible. I remember that the eldest elder of the Zhou family is a Danyuan realm warrior, right? Lu Dafu frowned and said, "When he dies, it will be a huge blow to the Zhou family. And the eldest young master of the Yang family, he is also very strong. It is impossible for ordinary people to kill him. Who is it that is so cruel and offends the Zhou family and the Yang family in one fell swoop?" Chapter 99, Pretending to be a Caravan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Zhan shook his head and said, "I don't know very well, but because of the death of the eldest elder of the Zhou family and the eldest young master of the Yang family, the two families were very angry and threatened to catch the muscular man. To avenge them, so they are now sending a large number of manpower to search for the muscular man. After all, the people they killed had high status in both families. This muscular man was undoubtedly a slap in their faces. It's also because of this that I can mobilize these warriors to help you." After hearing Xiao Zhan's words, everyone suddenly realized. If we have the help of warriors like Brother Xiao, then there will be no problem in dealing with those vicious bandits. Bai Fei said slowly, "Then the next step is to plan how to encircle and suppress those vicious bandits." Xiao Zhan asked, "Do you have any plans?" The eyes of Wen Shuer, Huang Jie, Wang Tianfang and Lu Dafu all fell on Bai Fei's handsome face, waiting for his next words. Seeing that everyone's eyes were on him, Bai Fei smiled slightly and said, "Of course I have a plan. Those bandits have always been hiding in the Black Stone Forest, so it is obviously impossible for us to fight against them in the Black Stone Forest. So we have to lure the snake out of its hole. Then the only way is to pretend to be a caravan. After all, this is the only way they will take action. Pretending to be a caravan." Lu Dafu pondered for a moment. "This is indeed a good idea. It's just that with such a large formation like ours, will they be frightened and dare not take action?" Xiao Zhan asked with a frown. "Of course not." When Bai Fei heard this, he just smiled and shook his head, and then said aloud, "It is precisely because our formation is bigger that they will not suspect that we are setting a trap for them. Because we also know that there is such a group of fierce bandits. If we want to go out of the city for foreign trade, we must have more guards. Moreover, we can also let some people hide in the boxes, resulting in a larger number of people than them. If there is little illusion, when a fight actually breaks out, we can create a surprise and attack them unprepared. You know, these bandits will use the Black Stone Forest as a stronghold because the trade route from Wuyun City to the outside needs to pass through the Black Stone Forest. There have been no foreign caravans stationed in Muyin City, and there are no caravans out of Muyin City for foreign trade. This is definitely something that those vicious bandits do not want to see. After all, they are entrenched in the Black Stone Forest just to rob the caravan. There are no caravans coming in or out now, which is not cost-effective for them. So when they see a caravan leaving Muyin City, they will definitely want to kidnap it to strengthen their own foundation. Interests can blind reason and drive away people's hearts. Bai Fei's analysis is indeed very reasonable. If this is the case, then just do what you said, Bai Fei. You are responsible for how to arrange the next step. Xiao Zhan looked at Bai Fei and expressed his thoughts first. Huang Jie also spoke out at this moment. Junior brother Bai Fei, if you need any help from me, just ask, I will fully cooperate with you. Me too. Me too. Lu Dafu and Wang Tianfang also expressed their opinions immediately. Bai Fei, I can help you here too. Wen Shuer looked at Bai Fei and said softly. Thank you all. When Bai Fei heard these words, he just smiled. Then his eyes fell on Wen Shuer and said, Xiao Xue, I do need your help with something. Hearing that she could also help, Wen Shuer's eyes became brighter, and she smiled happily and said, no problem. Just leave the task to me, and I promise to complete it perfectly for you. But when Bai Fei heard this, he just smiled and said, I believe you can do it. So, Bai Fei began to arrange the tasks. After the arrangements were made, Bai Fei said to Xiao Zhan, Brother Xiao, please stay. I have something to say to you. Hearing Bai Fei's words, Xiao Zhan raised his eyebrows. He was a little surprised, but he still nodded, okay. After everyone left, Bai Fei said to Xiao Zhan, Brother Xiao, thank you so much this time. I have prepared 50,000 low-grade spiritual stones here. You can distribute them to the warrior brothers you brought. Xiao Zhan was a little surprised when he heard this. He didn't expect Bai Fei to pay him. At that moment, Xiao Zhan shook his head and said, Bai Fei, this is your fault. I help you just because you are my brother, not because you are greedy for such spiritual stones. What's more, do you think our Xiao family will lack such spiritual stones? Not to mention, you saved my life several times. I help you, as I should do both emotionally and rationally. When Bai Fei heard this, he just shook his head slightly and said, even if you help me, the people you brought have no such obligations and responsibilities, so I think you should accept these spiritual stones. Better. No need, our Xiao family will arrange their pensions and other things. Xiao Zhan shook his head, waved his hands, and said, what's more, they are originally members of my Xiao family. With the salary of the Xiao family, they naturally have to do things for the Xiao family. If you really feel sorry, then think of it as a favor that you owe me, and if possible, how about returning this favor? Xiao Zhan's words made Bai Fei slightly startled, and then he smiled and said, I bet you dug a hole here. Why do you call it a trap? I'm asking for favors openly and honestly. Xiao Zhan smiled and replied. When Bai Fei heard this, he didn't say much. He just nodded and said, I understand, let's do it. I owe you Xiao Zhan a favor. Hey, I'm just saying it, don't take it seriously. Xiao Zhan quickly stopped him. What? You don't even want favors? My favors are not that good. Bai Fei said with a smile. Huh, that's true. Then I won't be pretentious and will accept your favor. Xiao Zhan laughed loudly, and then he asked mysteriously, Bai Fei, let me ask you a question. Chapter 100, Treasure Pavilion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Xiao Zhan's mysterious look, Bai Fei already guessed what question he wanted to ask. What is the problem? Then the eldest young master of the Yang family and the eldest elder of the Zhou family, were you the one to solve them? Looking at Bai Fei, Xiao Zhan's eyes widened, wanting to know his answer. Hearing Xiao Zhan's question, Bai Fei couldn't help but laugh. Brother Xiao, I am in the city lord's palace. The eldest young master of the Yang family and the eldest elder of the Zhou family were killed in the Shantian cemetery. Do you think I can travel back and forth in one day? Not to mention that I was injured before. Hearing this, Zhan also felt that it made sense. You said that, it seems true. But wait, what did you just say? Are you injured? Why are you injured? Bai Fei just said calmly, it's nothing, just a fight with someone. That's it. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. A look of regret appeared on Zhan's face, and then he asked without giving up, is it really not you? Do you think my figure looks like the muscular man you call me? Bai Fei could only continue to explain. Well, it's true that they don't look alike. You're much more handsome than him. Zhan heard this, looked Bai Fei up and down, and then said this. When Bai Fei heard this, he didn't know whether to cry or laugh for a moment, but he still revealed something. Of course, the person who killed the eldest young master of the Yang family and the eldest elder of the Zhou family does have something to do with me. Hearing this, Zhan burst out laughing. I knew it was your kid's handiwork. That the death of the eldest young master of the Yang family and the eldest elder of the Zhou family has greatly solved the current predicament of the Xiao family. After all, how could these two families with such high status be suddenly slaughtered? Not to mention, these two aristocratic families have been targeting the Xiao family recently. The results of it? He, Zhan, had just told Bai Fei these things, and the next day these two noble people from the aristocratic families died in Xiantian cemetery. If this had nothing to do with Bai Fei, Zhan would have eaten the shoe directly. Now hearing Bai Fei's admission, Zhan was glad that he no longer had to eat shoes. However, what Zhan never expected was that Bai Fei could even recruit such a powerful warrior. It was too mysterious. Brother Xiao, please don't reveal this matter, otherwise, I will be in big trouble. Looking at Zhan, Bai Fei asked seriously. Look at what you said. How could I reveal it casually? Do you not believe me? Zhan said with a look of displeasure on his face. Of course not, of course I believe Brother Xiao. Bai Fei responded with a smile. Zhan patted his shoulder gently and said with a satisfied smile, okay, in that case, I will leave first to prepare for the follow-up matters. Good. After Zhan left, Bai Fei also got up and left the room, and then came to Huang Jie's door. He knocked on the door gently and said to Huang Jie, Senior sister, is it convenient? In just 2 seconds, the door opened, and Huang Jie appeared in Bai Fei's sight. She looked calm and asked in an indifferent tone, Junior brother Bai Fei, what's the matter? Bai Fei looked at Huang Jie and said with a smile, Senior sister Jie, do you have time now? I would like to ask you to go out with me. Where to go? Huang Jie asked. Jubao Pavilion. Jubao Pavilion? That when Huang Jie heard this, he was immediately surprised. Are you planning to buy something? Make some preparations. Bai Fei answered with a smile. Seeing that Bai Fei had already said this, Huang Jie nodded without asking any more questions and said, okay, let's go. Jubao Pavilion is located in the center of Muyan City. There are branches of them all over the world. It is the strongest chamber of commerce in the entire Dajing dynasty. Not even the great political dynasty dared to contend easily, because I heard that Jubao Pavilion was created by a super strong man in the life and death realm, which is very scary. The architectural appearance of Jubao Pavilion is very much like a cornucopia. Entering the hall, you can see people coming and going, and it is extremely busy. Bai Fei came to a front desk, looked at the receptionist standing behind the front desk, smiled and said, Hello, miss, I want to buy some materials. Okay, I wonder what type of materials this young master needs to buy. Looking at Bai Fei, the receptionist asked softly. It's about materials, about talismans and seals. Bai Fei opened his mouth and answered. Hearing Bai Fei's words, the receptionist was a little surprised, so she said aloud, Master, please wait a moment, I will ask the deacon for instructions. When Bai Fei heard this, he just nodded slightly. Huang Jie, who was standing next to Bai Fei, heard what he said, and a look of surprise appeared on her delicate and pretty face, and then she whispered, Junior brother Bai Fei, you just said you wanted to buy some talismans. Materials? Are you planning to refine some talismans? Hearing Huang Jie's words, Bai Fei nodded and replied, Yes, after all, we don't know if those vicious bandits have any hidden cards, so it is the best thing to be prepared. Bai Fei's answer surprised Huang Jie, and she couldn't help asking, Are you still a talisman master? Bai Fei just waved his hand and said with a smile, "No, I only know some simple refining methods." Although Bai Fei said so, Huang Jie was still shocked. Being able to refine talismans is not something that ordinary people can do. Soon, a middle-aged man with a big belly came to Bai Fei and said with a smile, "Hello, I am the steward of Jubao Pavilion, my surname is Wang. Sir, I heard that you want to buy materials for talismans. I wonder what you need." "Talisman board, talisman pen, I need them all." Bai Fei said what he wanted without any hesitation. "Okay, please follow me, sir." Deacon Wang smiled and took Bai Fei and Huang Jie to another room. In the room, there were various things. "Sir, this is a third-grade talisman pen, the Xianling talisman pen. It is very durable and also the best-selling talisman pen. This is a second-grade talisman pen, the Lingfeng talisman pen. It will increase the success rate when engraving talismans with wind attributes. This is..." Deacon Wang introduced them to Bai Fei one by one, regardless of whether it was a talisman pen or a talisman board. All the details were told by Deacon Wang with great confidence.